The Alpha King's pup growled at the rejected Omega. Everyone froze when she knelt and let him climb. Every Alpha, Beta, and Noble stood in their place, dressed in dark cloaks marked with their pack symbols. Torches burned low, their flames bending as if even fire feared what was about to happen. Tonight was meant to be a celebration. Tonight the Alpha King would present his heir. At the center of the court stood King Rail of the High Claw Pack, ruler of all northern wolves. His presence alone demanded silence. He was strong, broad-shouldered, his silver crown resting heavy on dark hair touched by age. His golden eyes watched everything. He had ruled for many years through strength, order, and unbroken law. Beside him stood the heir, the pup. He was not small but young. His fur was dark as night, marked with pale streaks that glowed faintly under moonlight. His eyes were sharp, alert, too old for his age. A thin chain of moon metal rested around his neck, symbol of bloodline and future rule. The court waited for the pup to bow. That was the ritual. The heir was meant to lower his head to the gathered packs to show dominance wrapped in control. A ruler must be calm. A ruler must never fear. But the pup did not bow. Instead, his ears flattened. A low sound rose from his chest. A growl, not loud, not wild. Warning. Every breath in the court stopped. King Rail stiffened. His hand tightened at his side. This had never happened before. The growl was not aimed at the nobles, not at the warriors, not at the rivals. The pup's eyes were locked on one figure at the edge of the court, an Omega. Lyra, she stood alone, half hidden behind a stone pillar, wearing no fine cloak, no pack colors. Her dress was plain, worn by travel and time. Her dark hair was tied back simply, her face calm but pale. Lyra had been rejected years ago. Once she had belonged to the Moon Fang pack. Once she had dreamed of belonging. But when her rank was tested, she had shown no power that the court valued. No strength in battle, no sharp command, no fire. They called her weak. They cast her out. She had survived anyway. Now she had returned not by choice but by command. The law required all former pack members to attend royal gatherings, no matter how unwanted. Lyra felt the weight of hundreds of eyes when the growl echoed. Her heart did not race. Instead, something deep inside her stirred. The sound was not anger, it was fear. The pup was afraid. She felt it as clearly as if the feeling were her own. King Rail stepped forward. "Control yourself," he commanded, his voice sharp but quiet. The pup did not listen. The growl deepened. The court shifted uneasily. Alphas reached for weapons. Betas whispered under their breath. And Omega, being the focus of the heir's reaction, was unheard of, dangerous. Lyra slowly stepped forward. Gasps spread through the crowd. And Omega did not approach the heir without permission. Lyra ignored the rules. She walked until she stood several steps away from the throne platform. Her hands were empty. Her posture was open. She did not look at the king. She looked only at the pup. His growl faltered. His eyes flicked to hers, searching. Lyra lowered herself to her knees, not quickly. Not in fear. She knelt with care as one might kneel before something fragile. The palace did not sleep after the attack. Torches burned through the night. Guards doubled their watch. Every shadow felt dangerous. The air itself seemed tense, as if the walls were listening. Lyra sat quietly in the inner chamber, the pup curled beside her. His body was small against the wide stone floor, but his presence felt strong. He refused to leave her side. King Rail stood nearby, arms crossed, eyes dark. Someone had crossed a line. "This was no lone act," he said at last. "Someone inside the court gave that order." Lyra nodded slowly. "Fear makes people careless." The king looked at her sharply. "You speak as if you expected this." "I did," she replied. "When power changes shape, those who benefit from the old form will strike first." King Rail said nothing, but her words settled deep. For the first time, he allowed guards to remain outside Lyra's chamber, not to watch her, but to protect her. That choice did not go unnoticed. By morning, rumors spread like wildfire. Some said Lyra had bewitched the air. Some said the air was cursed. Some said the Alpha King had grown weak. The elders demanded another council. This time, King Rael arrived wearing his crown. Silver light caught on its sharp edges as he took the throne. His voice carried power, but beneath it lay something new, resolve mixed with doubt. "You accuse without proof," he told the council. "You act without loyalty." One elder stepped forward. "The Omega is the problem. Remove her and balance will return." Lyra stood at the side of the hall, silent. The pup was not present. That absence was felt by all. "Balance," King Rael repeated, "or comfort," the elders bristled. "She undermines tradition. She weakens the air. She should never have been allowed near him." King Rael leaned forward. "You confuse fear with strength." "I will not," gasps echoed. Never before had a king spoken this way. The council ended without agreement. The divide was clear now. That afternoon, King Rael visited Lyra alone. No guards, no witnesses. He found her in the small garden behind the inner halls, sitting beneath an old tree, its roots cracked stone, stubborn and strong. "You should hate this place," he said. Lyra looked up. "I do not. After all it took from you, it took nothing I truly owned." That answer stayed with him. He watched the way she rested her hand against the earth, calm, steady. "You could leave," he said. "I could arrange it, quietly." Lyra shook her head. "Running does not protect him. You speak as if he belongs to you." Her gaze lifted, firm but gentle. "He belongs to himself. I am only someone he trusts." King Rael felt a sharp ache. Trust. He had demanded loyalty all his life. He had never learned how to earn trust. The days that followed were dangerous. Supporters of the old order grew bold. Orders were questioned. Small acts of defiance spread through the ranks. The air sensed it all. He grew anxious again, restless, his calm shaken by the tension around him. Only with Lyra did he find peace. One night, as thunder rolled across the sky, the pup cried out in fear. Lyra rushed to him, holding him close, whispering comfort. His shaking slowly eased. King Rael stood in the doorway, unseen. He watched as Lyra stayed awake through the storm, never leaving the heir's side. A memory rose unbidden. A young Rael, alone during storms. A father who believed fear must be burned away. A crown placed too early on a trembling head. Something broke quietly inside him. The breaking point came at dawn. A rival pack arrived at the palace gates, banners raised. They claimed the Alpha King had lost control. They demanded the heir be placed under council rule for his own good. It was a threat. War stood one breath away. The court gathered again, voices loud, tempers burning. "This is because of her," someone shouted. "Give us the Omega." Lyra stepped forward before the guards could stop her. "If my leaving ends this," she said, "then I will go." The hall fell silent. The pup's cry echoed from the inner chambers. King Rael rose slowly from the throne. "No," he said. All eyes turned to him. "I will not trade fear for peace," he continued. "I will not raise my heir in chains disguised as law." An elder snarled, "Then you doom us all." King Rael looked at Lyra. For the first time he did not look down. "Stand with me," he said quietly. Lyra did. Side by side, King and Omega faced the court. In that moment the old order cracked. The rival pack withdrew for now. But everyone knew the truth. Conflict was coming. That night King Rael removed his crown and placed it on the stone table. "I do not know how to rule this new path," he admitted. "I was taught only command." Lyra answered softly, "Then learn to listen." He met her gaze, not as king to Omega, but as one burdened soul to another. The air padded into the room and climbed between them, resting against both. A small, powerful choice. King Rael placed a hand on his heir's back. For the first time he felt hope and fear together. Cliffhanger. Rival packs gathered like a slow storm, their presence heavy and silent. No horns sounded. No battle cries rose. They were waiting. Inside the palace the air felt different, quieter, sharper. King Rael stood at the highest balcony, watching the distant movement. His crown rested on the stone beside him, untouched since the night before. For the first time in his life, he did not know if he would wear it again. Behind him, Lyra approached softly. "They will not attack yet," she said. "They are watching what you choose." He did not turn. "All my life, choice was denied to me. Now it may destroy everything." Lyra stood beside him, looking out at the valley. "Or save it." He finally faced her. "You could still leave. No one would stop you now." She shook her head. "I was rejected once. I will not abandon what chose me." That word again. Chose. Below them the air stirred. The pup padded across the stone floor and stopped near the crown. He sniffed it, then stepped back, uneasy. King Rail noticed. "He fears it now," the king said quietly. Lyra nodded. "Because he knows what it costs." King Rail closed his eyes. So did he. The council gathered at noon. This time the hall was filled not only with nobles but warriors, messengers, and elders from every pack. Tension cracked through the air like dry wood. The rival pack leaders stood near the entrance, proud and sharp-eyed. One stepped forward. "Alpha King Rail," he said, "your rule has become unstable. The air shows weakness. The Omega holds influence. This breaks the old law." Murmurs of agreement spread. King Rail rose slowly from the throne. "The old law taught us to rule through fear," he said, "and fear has brought us here." The leader sneered. "Fear keeps order." "No," King Rail replied. "Fear creates silence. Silence hides rot." He turned to the court. "You ask for proof of strength. You ask for certainty." Then he did something no one expected. He stepped down from the throne. Gasps echoed through the hall. He walked to the center of the stone floor where all could see him. Slowly, carefully, he removed his crown and placed it at his feet. The sound of metal touching stone rang like thunder. "I was raised to believe power stands above," he said, "but power that cannot kneel will always fall." The elders shouted. The rival leaders stiffened. Lyra's breath caught. King Rail lowered himself. He knelt, not before the court, not before the rivals, but before his heir. The pup froze, startled. Then he stepped forward, placing his small paws against the king's chest. King Rail bowed his head. "I choose my son's future over my pride," he said. "I choose trust over fear." The hall stood frozen. Lyra stepped forward and knelt beside them, not in submission but in unity. The pup climbed between them, resting against both, a symbol older than crowns. The rival leader laughed, sharp and cruel. "This is weakness. You will fall." "Then I will fall as myself," King Rail replied. He stood, turning to the guards. "Open the gates." Shock rippled through the hall. The gates opened. The rival packs moved forward, cautious, uncertain. But something unexpected happened. The warriors of King Rail's own pack stepped forward too, not to attack, to stand. One by one. They did not shout. They did not bare teeth. They simply stood behind their king, behind their choice. The rival leaders hesitated. They had expected fear. They had expected chaos. They found resolve. "This changes nothing," one leader said, though his voice was no longer certain. "It changes everything," Lyra said calmly, "because the air will grow without chains." The pup lifted his head and gave a clear, strong sound, not a growl, not a cry. A call. Other young wolves answered from the crowd. The valley seemed to listen. The rival packs slowly withdrew, not defeated, but shaken. That night the kingdom did not celebrate. It rested. The crown was not returned to the throne. King Rail sat with Lyra and the air in the quiet chamber, the fire low, the world finally still. "I do not know what kind of king I will be tomorrow," Rail said. Lyra smiled softly. "Neither do I. That is how growth begins." He looked at her. "You were rejected because you could not be ruled." "No," she said gently, "because I could not be owned." The air slept between them, peaceful. King Rail felt something he had never allowed himself before. Peace without control. In the weeks that followed, the kingdom changed. Slowly, painfully. The elders lost some power. New voices rose. The heir was taught not only strength but patience. Not only command but care. Lyra was given a title long erased from history. Guardian of the air. not above. Not below, beside, she accepted it quietly. One evening, as the sun set red across the hills, King Rail stood beside her on the balcony. "You stayed," he said. "Yes. You changed everything." She shook her head. "You did." He looked at the valley, at the people moving freely below. "For the first time," he said, "I am not afraid of what comes next." Lyra met his gaze. "Neither am I below them." The air played in the fading light, free, unburdened. The kingdom breathed. And for the first time in generations, power did not stand alone. It knelt. The court froze. This was not submission. This was something else. Lyra bowed her head slightly and placed one hand on the stone floor. Her voice was soft, but it carried. "It is all right," she said. "You are safe." The pup tilted his head. The chain at his neck rattled as he took a hesitant step forward. King Rail's heart thundered in his chest. "Stop," he ordered. No one moved. The pup ignored him. Slowly, carefully, the heir approached Lyra. His steps were unsure, like he was crossing ice that might break. When he reached her, he paused, sniffing the air. Lyra did not move. She did not reach out. She waited. Then the pup placed one paw on her shoulder. The world seemed to hold its breath. With a small hop, the pup climbed onto her shoulder and rested there, his body pressed against her neck. His growl faded. His breathing slowed. Calm, complete calm. Lyra closed her eyes. The court erupted in whispers. "This is forbidden. How dare she?" The heir chose her. King Rail stared in shock. This was an ancient gesture, a forgotten one. Long ago, before crowns and rigid laws, heirs were tested not by strength but by instinct. They chose those who could steady them, those who could hear them without words. That role had been erased. Too dangerous for kings who ruled through fear. The pup sighed softly, resting fully against Lyra. King Rail felt something crack inside him. The bond between crown and blood shifted. "Remove her," one of the elder alphas said quickly. "This is unacceptable." Lyra opened her eyes. Slowly she lifted her gaze to the king for the first time. She did not look defiant. She looked tired but strong. "He is afraid," she said quietly, "and you taught him to hide it." The words struck like a blade. King Rail opened his mouth, then closed it. The pup tightened his hold on Lyra's shoulder. A soft whimper escaped him. The king felt it then. Fear, not of rebellion, not of weakness, but of losing something he did not understand. The Moon Court had gathered to celebrate power. Instead, it witnessed something far more dangerous: truth. The Moon Court did not return to its old order. Even after the gathering ended, the silence remained, heavy as stone. Whispers followed Lyra wherever she went. Some eyes held fear. Some held anger. A few held something close to awe. And Omega had changed the balance. King Rail ordered the court dismissed early that night. The nobles left in small groups, speaking in low voices, already shaping rumors. By morning, every pack would know what happened. Lyra was escorted not to the outer quarters where rejected Omegas usually stayed, but to a guarded chamber near the inner halls. The order came directly from the Alpha King. She did not resist. She did not ask why. She understood one thing clearly now: her quiet life was over. The pup remained restless after the court ended. He paced beside the throne, ears twitching, tail low. When Lyra was taken away, he let out a sharp cry and pulled against the moonmetal chain. King Rail felt it like a wound. He dismissed the guards and knelt before his heir, lowering himself in a way he had not done in many years. "She is not yours to choose," he said softly, though the words felt weak. "You are the future king." The pup looked at him with eyes too knowing for one so young. Then he turned his head away. That hurt more than any blade. Lyra spent the night awake. The chamber was warm, clean, and silent, but her thoughts would not rest. She replayed the moment again and again: the growl, the climb, the way the court froze. She had not planned it. She had only listened. That had always been her curse. Even as a child, Lyra heard things others ignored: the fear behind anger, the sadness behind pride, the silence behind power. That was why her pack rejected her. She did not fit the world as it was. At dawn, the guards returned. "The Alpha King summons you," one said. Lyra rose and followed. The throne hall looked different in daylight, less frightening but more exposed. Without the moon, the carvings seemed older, worn by truth. King Rael stood alone before the throne. No crown, no guards. That alone told Lyra this meeting would change everything. "You broke the law last night," he said without turning. Lyra bowed her head. "I know. You touched the air." "I did not touch him, he chose." King Rael turned sharply. His eyes burned, but not with anger alone. "Choice is a dangerous word," he said. "Kings are not built on choice, they are built on obedience." Lyra lifted her gaze. "Then he will suffer." The words hung between them. King Rael studied her carefully now, not as an Omega, not as a threat, but as something unfamiliar. "Why did he come for you?" he asked. Lyra hesitated, then she spoke the truth. "Because he is afraid, and because no one allows him to be." Silence filled the hall again. "You claim to understand my air better than I do?" the king asked. Lyra shook her head. "No, I only listen when others command." That answer struck deeper than he expected. King Rael turned away, pacing slowly. "The court demands your removal. Some demand punishment." Lyra's hands tightened, but her voice stayed steady. "And what do you demand?" He stopped. "I demand answers," he said. "You will remain in the palace. You will observe the air. You will speak only when asked." Lyra understood the true meaning. She was being tested, and watched. Days passed. Lyra spent time near the air under guard supervision. She did not command him. She did not teach him. She simply stayed near, quiet and patient. The pup followed her often, drawn by something neither of them could name. His mood softened. His restlessness eased. He slept better. The servants noticed. So did the court. Some alphas grew uneasy. A ruler shaped by calm rather than fear threatened everything they believed in. King Rael watched from a distance. He saw how Lyra never raised her voice, how she let the air choose his own steps, how she respected his fear instead of punishing it. It unsettled him because it worked. One evening, as storm clouds gathered, the air refused a dominance lesson. He backed away, growling low, panic in his eyes. The trainer raised his hand. "Stop," Lyra said softly. The man hesitated. Everyone did. The air ran to Lyra and pressed close to her side. King Rael stepped forward, anger rising. "You interfere again." Lyra met his gaze. "If you force him, he will learn fear. If you guide him, he will learn trust." "And if trust makes him weak?" the king demanded. Lyra answered quietly. "Then strength built on fear was never strength at all." The words shook something loose. King Rael dismissed the trainer. That night he stood alone on the balcony, staring at the valley below. He remembered his own childhood, harsh lessons, cold nights, endless expectations. No one had knelt for him. No one had listened. He wondered what kind of king he had become because of that. The elders did not wait. At the next council meeting, accusations flew. "She is corrupting the air. She undermines authority. She must be removed." King Rael listened in silence. When they finished, he spoke one sentence. "She stays." The room erupted. That night, Lyra was warned quietly by a servant. "Be careful," the woman whispered. "Not everyone waits for permission." Lyra nodded. She had survived worse, but she did not know the danger would come so soon. Before dawn, shadows moved through the inner halls. A figure slipped into Lyra's chamber, blade raised. Before the strike could fall, a fierce snarl filled the room. The pup stood between them, teeth bared, eyes blazing. Guards rushed in. The attacker fled. When King Rael arrived, he found Lyra kneeling on the floor, the air pressed against her, shaking. The king's hands trembled. This was no longer politics. This was personal. Cliffhanger.